This is the S03, a small LED panel light by Weeylite. I find myself using it all the time whenever I need a little extra fill or just a little pop of light in a small space that I don't want to be seen on camera. So I have bigger LED panels. I have bigger tube lights, so obviously I can get more output when I need to. But when you're shooting in your house or other smaller confined spaces, finding a place to tuck away light stand in these bigger lights can get a little tricky, and then you're spending a lot more time doing setup as opposed to actually filming and creating content. It's not always practical or a good use of your time. So some of the immediate reasons I was hesitant to use this light was, first of all, that there is only a on-off power button. Seems a little bit odd, but at the same time, how often do we really control any of our lights from the actual light source anyways? As soon as I turn on any of my lights, I'm immediately going to my phone and using an app. So the fact that it only has an on-off button was a little odd at first, but then practically I realized I'm gonna use it the same way I do any of my other lights. The one downside to that though is I don't have a battery reading, and of course that isn't in the app either, so I'm not sure how long the battery life is unless I've just charged it, which according to Weeylite, the battery life on these is about an hour before you need to recharge. They do have a different version now, which is the S05, which gives you the option to adjust the settings or change the settings and see the battery level on the back side of the light. But for me, it's not a big enough deal, and these work just great that there's no need for me to want to switch over to that. Other downsides is they aren't magnetic. Now I know the aperture version, which is about $100, that is magnetic, of course, costs a lot more. It gives you a little bit more output, and I think the effects, there might be a little bit more of a range of those. But seeing as how these come in at $30, I can't be too upset that it doesn't have magnets. Plus, they're so lightweight that a little piece of gaff tape would probably stick it wherever you need to. The only time I was really bummed that it didn't have magnets is when I was using them to kind of tuck away into little parts of the scanner to shoot B-roll. You'll notice it really didn't keep me from creating the content I needed to and tucking them away into the corners of that machine or elsewhere. And then lastly, the only other downside is that there's only one threaded mount on this. So I really wanted to kind of daisy chain them all together and create kind of a larger panel or a larger fill light to kind of see how that would work out with the four of them. Maybe create almost like a half circle type of thing and just use it for different lighting setups. But since there's only one 1/4-20 thread, it makes it a little bit more difficult to attach them all together. The one thing to be aware of if you're going to use multiple of these lights is you can set them up on the same channel, but if you want to have them all on separate channels, you'll have to open the app and be on the channel you want initially, and then turn on the light you want on that channel. Once that's set up, you can switch to a different channel and turn on a different light, and then that light will be attached to that channel. And that's how you're going to split up lights on different channels. If you want them all on one channel, so if I wanted to have these all the same color and popped around wherever I want to, I would turn them all on while my phone is open on one channel. And that way, if I want to turn them all off at once or change all the colors to the same color once, I can do it all on a single channel instead of having them split up multiply. But it is nice to be able to have each one of these tiny little $30 lights on a separate channel if I wanted to. Now, the things that have got me using these lights more and more is just how small and inconspicuous they are. If you want, they're in 4 different colors. I wish they had a black, but there is a gray, a blue, a yellow, and a white. Black, I think, would have been a good choice, but they have built-in diffusers. And if you compare them to the cheap version of the aperture, I actually have that light stashed away over here and I don't really use it anymore. It's the older one where they have different gels that you have to attach to it and then put on the diffuser on top of it. So you're constantly taking off this little piece of magnetic diffuser and putting on different gels or anything to get the right look that you want. And that one has no app control anyways, because you're really just using those diffuser and gels for everything. These, there's no need for that, and they're just so small. I've stuck these, again, in little nooks and crannies of the scanner. I've actually used it for a little bit of rim light. I've used it for a little bit of fill light. I've used it to accent different motivational lights for different scenes. So for example, I just shot a video about the X-T2, and in that video, the shots that I used to compare that camera to a red helium, I used several of these. I used it for a fill light, I used it for a rim light, and I used it to amplify a practical light I had in one of those shots as well, to kind of increase the motivation of that and give it a little bit more color on the wall. And I didn't need magnets for any of that, and these were great. They're easy to pop on and off and put them wherever I need to. It takes just a few seconds to connect them to the app, and so these have been kind of my go-to lately, even more so than my larger panels or even my LED tube lights. The bigger panels, yes, they have more output, and yes, you have a little bit more options with lighting, but they're bigger also, so they require a little bit more room to tuck away into, or you have to have something to keep them upright or kind of put them on a stand of some sort. Whereas these, you can set them anywhere, and they're so lightweight that they're not gonna fall over, and if they do, they're 30 bucks. If you break them, you need to replace them. It's much easier to do so than with a more expensive light. And at the end of the day, what is going to increase the quality of your videos or the quality of your photos? Is it gonna be a tube light or a bigger light panel that you don't always use? Or is it gonna be a few of these that you can turn on, place where you need to, and immediately get to creating work? And it's gonna look a lot more professional if you use them properly to accent your scene correctly and make it stand out more and look like it was very well lit. Of course, we all wanna shoot in a big studio with a bunch of open space where we can put massive lights anywhere we want to get the exact shots we want to. But we don't always have that option. Even on professional shoots, if you have scenes or locations where you don't have the option to bring in heavy-duty lighting, sometimes you need to revert to just small little lights that you can tuck away where you need to, gonna be hidden out of camera sight or not noticeable, and get you the lighting you need when you need it quickly and effectively, and you know it's gonna be reliable. So if you're looking for a small compact light that you can kind of tuck away and get great results with, and it's just easy to set up and get the look you want and really enhance your creativity, I highly recommend you pick up one, if not several of these Weeylite S03 lights. I feel like every time I end up using these, I end up using 2 or 3 different ones in different areas just to pop lights, simply because they're just so effective. So if you have any questions on these little S03 panel LED lights, or any of my other lighting or film cameras or vintage lenses, etc., be sure to leave that in the comments and I will make sure I answer those for you. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.